Hello guys, due to the demand, I have decided to make a special series about reality check and the experiences in prison, how it came about, what it's really like, what experiences I've had, very personal impressions, emotional states and so on. I would like to discuss with you to break this myth, what young people think about it and so on. And before any people tell you bullshit about it, who only have that they tell you that they were there once or several times or for many years. So, they're telling you bullshit. Information about me you can find about right-wing red light rockers also on this channel. I want to start today with how it started, how I ended up in prison in the first place. The first time, 2011, I was 33 years old. To the backstory. So today it's about the arrest. At that time, I was president of a regional active moderator club, a 1% club, which had territorial claims, which was active in drug trafficking, in the prostitution business. We were multi-criminals, so wherever there was money to be made, we were also involved. And then we clashed with another group from another city. There were disputes about agreements regarding the tattoo business and also about prostitution apartments. The dispute escalated rapidly. In mutual cities, there were attacks on individuals, on the groups, and so on. And that was then driven to the extreme. Someone from other corridors was arrested, but he was immediately released after 2 weeks, and we went to this release. On the way there, we ran into the group we were arguing with, and both cars were already on the way there. It was at a railroad crossing. The barriers went over. We stormed out of the cars, stormed towards their car. A knife was stabbed into the windshield, tried to push off. The cars chased through the city while driving without regard for pedestrians, without regard for the residents, completely out of control, also in terms of the police and so on. We then arrived at court where the groups separated. We then waited at court, stood opposite each other. We had a small hand lizard with us. They had a knife with them. We insulted each other, wished each other death and so on. The court reacted very, very late. There was a very late operation after the judges and court officials and so on had looked out of the court where we were standing in front of. And then forces were gathered to control us. Up until then, I also had a significant involvement, including multiple arrests and related experiences. But I never ended up in jail. At most, I was in an exploitation cell or in a cell at the police station. The police then checked us, then gave us orders to leave the area. Both groups were sent out of the city where this district court was. We then spent the rest of the day. And in the evening, I went out with someone from the motorcycle club. And we were in a casino and participated in a poker tournament. We played poker. The poker tournament ended around 1:30 at night. We then drove from Schwerin towards Wismar. And when we arrived in Wismar, I took a shortcut to where I used to live. There was a 50-meter one-way street. I drove through it to take a shortcut. And as I was already driving into the parking lot, a car hit me from the front. Another car hit me from the back. 5 or 6 men ran towards us. We exchanged glances. We assumed the other group we were in conflict with was now attacking us, and we thought, shit, it's starting now. We attempted to grab weapons, but the windshield and side window were smashed. We were both immediately pulled out of the cars. I was thrown to the ground, so was the other one. Blankets over the head, and then the area was secured first. All I remember then is my girlfriend at the time woke up from the first floor, looked down, and started screaming. Police with weapons drawn, special forces and lights were everywhere, causing a huge fuss. Residents came down but were pushed away. I didn't notice it all. I only noticed it under the blanket. You're then like in a movie. You're like in a tunnel. I had two thoughts. First, thank God it wasn't the others, as they could have been killed or seriously injured. But the planks, what do they want now? Of course, it's about the dispute. Is it about the dispute? No idea. Nothing is communicated. You lie under this blanket. This takes forever. Someone is coming. Cable ties are being attached first. Then the cable ties are loosened. The Special Weapons and Tactics team conducts the operation, concealing the officers' identities. Handcuffs are applied and you remain covered by a blanket, possibly being seated at some point. The Special Weapons and Tactics team is then sent away only after the situation is classified as safe. that the offender, so me or the person to be arrested, is accordingly calmed down in handcuffs and so on and has been controlled. This must be ensured first, then the officers also keep their masks on. They do this for good reasons because, of course, criminals also think about revenge and so on. They might remember faces and then try to take revenge for the arrest. Although, of course, everyone knows as a criminal, you are to blame yourself if you get arrested. You always have to expect that. But they are then sent away, then, so to speak, the greens, or today the blues. Patrol officers take over. Then the Landeskriminalamt came along, the State Criminal Police Office for Organized Crime at that time, who then came along and said, here, Philipp Schlaffer. So Philipp, we have been on first name terms. We have been opponents for years. And then they said, yes, we have a warrant for your arrest today, signed by the Schwerin Regional Court for serious breach of the peace, attempted bodily harm and so on at today's regional court. Initially, it's tough to accept and you'd say nothing was going on. You then first go internally into this defensive reaction. It wasn't me, I didn't, why, what kind of shit, what's this shit state and how did you come up with that and why me? Yes, so you first have a very, very large declining attitude, of course, that's very clear. And the other one who was with me, of course, he also got involved that day, but they let him go. Instead, they pinned it on the head of the gang, so they pinned it on me and arrested me. He was released after 20 minutes and sent home once his personal details were recorded. Then I was put into the police car and first taken to the police station in Wismar. So the arrest does not take place in such a way that one is directly taken to a prison. It's not like a gate opening into a cell, as one might imagine. Instead, I was taken to the police station where he was treated for identification purposes again. That means fingerprints, photos were taken again, even though one has already gone through the whole procedure a few times in life. But that somehow belongs to this bureaucratic process of arrest. Then the accusation, it was communicated to me again. You then also receive a written copy of your arrest warrant, and it lists briefly why and for what reasons you are being accused and why you are being arrested. It then lists reasons, things like risk of flight, risk of tampering with evidence. What else is there? There are plenty of people watching on my channel. Feel free to write in the comments below. And generally, risk of flight is always a good thing, of course, or risk of tampering with evidence. If you have committed a crime, you may be arrested as a precaution to prevent influencing witnesses or destroying evidence. And then it was revealed to me, and then it was very clear, and then it was communicated, okay, the journey is about to start from this police station. You are going to Schwerin. We are now waiting for forces to drive you over. Because I was considered a dangerous person, several forces had to be gathered to bring me over. Because firstly, there was the danger that there could be an attempt to escape, and maybe it also looks more important, I don't know. Maybe someone from the police has to write underneath. So, and then it was clear we were heading towards Schwerin. Then you go into the cell, you arrive there, then you have to take off your shoes, belt, and so on. You get into this cell with the wooden bunk, maybe get a blanket, and then you are alone with your thoughts. And what kind of thoughts were there? The thoughts, of course, are initially shitty, so everyone knows once this situation is there, there will definitely be some kind of problems. No judge in the world initially signs a warrant and then says the next day, oh yeah, come on, it was all a big joke, you can go again. So I already knew shit, this time it's going to be a close call. That means I relied on the guys outside and my ladies and gentlemen to call a lawyer, and I was also prepared for him to appear the next day. Then at night, when I was brought to the cell in this police station in Schwerin, in a larger one, they said the next morning around 8, 9, 10 o'clock, you will be brought to the custody judge. You can then comment on the allegations. He then decides if you go to jail or are released. You think about that a lot. I didn't do it. I apologize for everything. Well, I'm sorry, just not. But what do they have? Like, what kind of evidence, all that, what's written in there, what the prosecutor has written, that's all not true. All of that can't possibly be true. So it's definitely the case that one talks oneself into believing it. Yes, one then naturally tries to somehow find one's way out of it. And of course, not getting a wink of sleep, that's something one must also consider. Adrenaline filled after being arrested by special weapons and tactics and police, you're at the station anticipating jail time. The others have made claims. Sleeping is not an option. The time was ticking, not moving forward at all. It's like when you're doing something very unpleasant, and in this unpleasant situation, of course, time doesn't move forward at all. And then you wait for it. The police, specifically the Landeskriminalamt, entered and tried to initiate a conversation. They came into my room saying, Philip, this time we got you. We have these statements and there's no way out. And then you first say, yes, yes. If you are a bit clarified, you say, okay, let's wait and see what the magistrate says and what the lawyer then looks at. I was presented to the magistrate who read it to me and greeted the lawyer briefly. We had 5 minutes, maybe 10 at most, to briefly discuss. The lawyer also didn't know and had no information. Gangsters and criminals often think their lawyer will get them out of trouble when they arrive. So lawyers are skilled at making money but often don't deliver much. You need exceptional or dedicated ones, but I don't depend on that. If you've been caught, then you've been caught, or a lawyer would bill you a lot, whether much more has happened than not necessarily. So, and then off to a custody judge, he asked me about the allegations. I said, well, I was neither with the knife and I didn't physically hurt anyone. We threatened each other, I admitted that. He said that wasn't enough for him, so I couldn't say more about it. He assumes that I could flee through this connection in the rocker scene and through the financial means and risk of collusion, and then ordered to bring me into the correctional facility. At that time, I was 32 or 33 years old, the first time in prison, and 1,000 thoughts raced through my mind in jail. Shit, it's really starting today. You tend to suppress that. Even my girlfriend at the time cried. The guys then waved, and from a distance, I saw a few more. And then you are put into the police car in handcuffs, leg irons, running chain. Then it's back to the police station first, and that's how the journey began. That's part one. These parts will be longer. That was on July 1st, 2011, and it was decided that I would be taken to Juvenile Detention Center, Butze. And then the first journey began, folks. So we will continue this part permanently here. I will report these to you so that we can clear up this myth. That was the worst time in my life, and I want to clarify it. As always, I'm happy if you leave a thumbs up and share the video. If you don't like what I'm saying, don't listen. So insults down here in the comments, things you've experienced in the comments and so on. Otherwise, I wish you all a hello from the coast, folks.